Good morning and welcome to the Raben Report. I'm your host, Elliot Raben, so get ready to get triggered.
Good morning and welcome to the Raben Report. I'm your host, Elliot Raben, and with me is part of my expert panel, Amara and Samuel. How are you guys?
Hello, hello.
Tired.
Fair. And filling in for Jessica, we've got former longtime panelist Daniel joining us. How
Hi,
are
everyone.
you, Daniel?
I'm doing pretty well. I hopefully I can take Jessica's role to the best of my abilities, and yeah, because I've been here before, and it's good to get back in the ring. There you go.
Yeah. Well, we're so happy to have you here. Oh, you're getting ready, aren't you?
No.
Well, we're going to keep the fighting to words, not fists.
Oh, 100%.
So, to begin, all opinions expressed are not those of Ryerson or Ryerson faculty and are only those of the individual commentators. Viewer discretion is advised. Let's start with our weekly recap. Black Friday and Cyber Monday just wrapped up.
It's a scam, so I'm sorry.
You think it's a scam?
It's 100%. I saw some tweet. There was like a Fashion Nova dress that was being sold for $70 a week before Black Friday. Black Friday promotion comes on, and they're like, "Oh, selling the dress for $90 and it go 30% off." Like, that's the biggest scam ever. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I did do a little bit of shopping. I just bought like a Nintendo Switch. The only reason why I got it was because they were offering like $120 gift card to like shoppers. It's very difficult to find good actual deals, especially with the Canadian dollar trading at what, like $72 cents, 75. So yeah, if you really want to save money, you got to go to like US or something like that. So
Sam?
I don't really, I don't really purchase a lot of things, like big tech items. If I do...
They're expensive.
Yeah, if I do, I save up and I buy something nice, and I don't really purchase things on a yearly basis, like a new phone or even clothing. So I wasn't really suckered into it.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, wasn't interested.
Well, the shopping channel where I have my internship at, it's actually they have some very good deals, honestly. You wouldn't think, but it's actually a great place. I love it there. But if you do want some good Black Friday deals, I would definitely, just Cyber Monday, I would check it out.
Don't they like scam 75-year-olds into buying like fake jade or something? Like,
Whoa.
No, it's all
No?
real. They don't,
okay, as long
they
as
don't
it's real.
scam.
As long as it's real. That's it.
Everything they sell, it's real, and because if they didn't, they'd be sued. But
Good to know.
But people buy it, right? So a lot of the people who buy their stuff are either people who are lonely at home, people who don't have access to stores, and this is their only
That's very true.
this is their only store, because the shopping channel is a retail store first, right? That's their motto, right? And the TV is the lowest portion of the equation, right? So definitely check that out because they're still going on. But I would agree to some extent. Like in the U.S., it's way better. You get way better deals.
100%. The problem is though, like everyone acts violent. Like
Oh, yeah.
The only reason why I really like Twitter now is because like you see like these crazy news stories and stuff. Obviously they're not verified, but it's still entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently there was someone like saying like, oh, a pastor was like teaching me like how to like make my keys and like ball them up into a fist so you can use them as a weapon to stab people in case they're like that's how people crazy are on Black Friday. Everyone becomes violent. Everyone like loses their humanity, and they only
Care about that TV.
It's capitalism at like its like ugliest in its ugliest form though. Like regardless of your opinion on that shit. So, but sorry, Spirit Life for
Good deals are good deals, though.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's talk about not a good deal, which is the TTC. They had another issue with their line. They yesterday there was a fire in the tunnel, and people were forced to walk through the tunnel to their station. There was
Really? Holy shit.
Yeah. I think it was at Kiel Station.
Yeah.
Once again, what are we paying for?
I think what happened, there was a fire, and then I think somebody, you have to like punch through the glass, and open the door. So they opened the subway door, and smoke got into the train, so that's why everyone had to get off. But
Wow, true.
the TTC's awful, like most days.
Wait, was that protocol to break the window, or did someone just freak out?
No, someone just freaked out.
Oh,
Like
wow.
commuter and did that.
I get that. I mean, especially like think about it. Like we don't know who the person is. Like maybe they suffer from like claustrophobia or some other issue. Like I know that if I was stuck in the subway like that, I'd probably be losing it. Like
Yeah, especially those rush hour trains. It's like you're in sardines.
yeah, exactly.
And when you like stations like Young, where the platform's not big, like someone's gonna get hurt.
I try to avoid using TTC at all costs. Like so, like only when necessary. You know, so just because like that's how unreliable it is. So.
Yeah. Well, I drove down today because I was like, well.
You kind of have to now. That's because if you can't rely on public transit, like
no, and now like usually like you Google how long it's going to take to get downtown, but it never takes that long. So you have to give yourself extra time, and sometimes you just don't have that extra time.
And you got like added winter commute time too. Like you add at least another hour to commute to wherever you're going. Right?
Yeah,
so.
It's because Toronto has grown by hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah,
over maybe even 500,000 every year for the last 5-6 years, and then we still have infrastructure from the 80s. I mean,
and there's a lot of people using the TTC that aren't from Toronto. They just work here, so they're coming in from the GTA.
Yeah. Well, and they're looking to extend the subway up to Richmond Hill now, right? Because they just extended it up to Vaughan, which doesn't help me because I'm on the other side of Vaughan. So, but now
the last people who need public transit are getting the routes. Like these connections should be going to like the people that use public transit the most.
Yeah.
I'm talking on the east side, on the west side, Brampton, Mississauga. What's on the east side? Like connecting from Scarborough,
Pickering.
yeah, exactly, all that stuff. The Danforth, all that, like everything like east from there. That would need. That's what like the Ontario line. That's a great idea because that'll actually help relieve public transit and stuff like that. So,
yeah, it's TTC, totally. Trash can.
What's their last one?
Total trash can. That's what I'm going to call it. That's why I drove down today. So I'm paying $25 for parking. But you know what?
Yeah,
if I can get here on time or just more comfortably, I'll do that. But normally, at least I only have to be at school twice a week this semester, which was nice. But let's move on to our final weekly update, which is about China. Now, China, Beijing has banned U.S. ships coming from Hong Kong as protests have grown and clashes with civilians and the military has become even more dangerous. Obviously Hong Kong protesters have been holding up pictures of Trump because they support democracy. Trump backs them. What can we really do, right? If people want democracy and Beijing is not allowing them, there comes a point where interventionism to some degree, or to some people, shouldn't happen, and to some people it should. What should we do here?
You guys want to take a crack at that?
I can take a crack. I'm usually not interventionist at all. Like I don't support most of the interventions in the Middle East, maybe all of them, just because I don't think they benefit Americans from that perspective. But China is a geopolitical rival for the U.S. specifically, and could overtake their economic output in the coming decade. I think that's almost guaranteed. But I think any chance to undermine the state, even if it is for a morally good reason, as supporting the freedom of the Hong Kong people are, any opportunity to do so, I think, is justified from a geopolitical perspective.
Daniel?
If we got to look really, really back into it, we got to look back into like the 90s, like with Bill Clinton being in charge as president. Like for him, his original policy was he thought that having these free trade agreements and having all this free market capitalism run into China would kind of cleanse them of all of these human rights violations. It would actually cause them, like, because they have all this capitalism now, it would force them to adapt and be less like strict on like their people, on their citizens. The problem is that like we stopped giving the Chinese money like at what 2010 2009 or something like that, and like that's like by the time that happened, like we've just created a superpower now. So the problem is now we have an interdependence with China. So that like it's hard. Like how do we fight the enemy when they're like attached to us at the hip?
It wasn't even.
We turn into Siamese twins now between the West and China.
It wasn't even Bill Clinton. It was before that because Reagan was one of the first presidents to meet with.
I'm saying when NAFTA got signed,
of course,
like that was like the biggest downfall. Like that's why we're in these conditions that we're in now, right?
Yeah.
Like 4 million jobs moved from the U.S. to China, like. And because China has a stronghold on the market economy, they can do whatever the fuck they want.
More labor, less regulations.
Exactly.
It was such a short-sighted policy.
And now China's thinking ahead. Like they don't have tunnel vision, and so they're investing and they're owning all of these African countries through debt, and then that's what's going on.
It's not just that they're thinking ahead, which is a great thing. I think, obviously,
I
don't support the government,
to them.
But it's the fact that they have a more authoritarian, or maybe you want to say that. a longer serving leadership, and that allows them to think more ahead because
Exactly.
a plan.
When there's that cohesiveness in the government like
Sure.
that, like with one party,
Yeah.
you're able to get stuff done like that.
Yeah, you don't have one, like, say one person institutes a policy or towards more infrastructure or a social program. They know they can get that done by the time their term is done, even if it's 10 years, because they know they're not going to be out of government in 3 years. Right?
It's a very it's a hot topic issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we just have to see what's going to happen in these coming weeks and the coming months. But
Yeah.
hopefully, democracy prevails. That's what we can really hope for, and hopefully no more lives are lost on either side. But let's move on now to our main story, which is morality. In life, there is what you are supposed to do and what you actually do. Sometimes those are the same things. Morality is a set of principles or a code of conduct. Each individual has their own set of morals, but are they universal? On today's show, we discuss where morals come from and if we all possess the same ones. As a reminder, we are live on Facebook, so make sure to comment on our feed to have your thoughts read live on air. So let's begin. We asked our viewers a question. Sam, do you want to pull up the
Yes,
thing?
I have it right here.
So the question was, remind our viewers, is morality subjective or is it objective? And
I had to
how
see
many
more.
people voted?
So 70 people voted. 70% said morality is subjective, and 30% said morality was objective.
Okay.
And
And
the numbers I can get you.
yeah.
49 said morality was subjective. 21 were correct and said morality was objective.
Well, that's a bold statement.
Narcissism at as finest example.
Clearly, you believe that morality is objective. Amara, what do you believe? Just
think
subjective or objective?
It's subjective.
Subjective. And Daniel?
It's subjective.
Subjective. Okay. I would also agree that it's subjective. So
Really?
subjective.
I'm surprised by that. Okay.
Why is that?
No, I just thought that would be your answer. Like we've talked about politics
Yeah.
and everything, so it's, it's all good.
Well, this is a very open forum, and based on the people that actually voted, like it wasn't really a conservative liberal issue. Like a lot of
I don't think
people
it has
voted
to be. I don't
exactly.
think it has to be. No.
Exactly, but just looking at the way people voted, it's not evident. Some conservatives say that it's objective. Some liberals say that it's subjective. Some conservatives say it's subjective. Some say it's objective. It's what. So why do you believe that? Now let's talk in more detail. Why do you believe, Sam? We're going to start you since you have the minority opinion today.
Sure.
Why do you believe it's objective?
Sure. So I think morality is objective. Well, like, can I just? I'll set my little foundation first, because I think if I jump ahead, it won't be coherent. In the absence of, I got some notes for this. This is great. In the absence of an immaterial or a non-material authority, so not the state. So in the absence of something that's immaterial, morality can only be constructed by human beings. And we know that human beings are they're fallible. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. They're flawed. And if your authority can only be enforced because you have a
higher power. So.
No. If you have a little bit, but if your morality is only justifiable and able to be enforced because you have a greater monopoly on power, i.e. the state, you have more guns, or just because more people agree with you, I don't think that's a good system to have morality. Or to oppose one, and it loses its what's the word I'm looking for? It loses its authority if the only thing behind it is majority opinion, i.e. laws in an indirect fashion, or the state imposing it through a greater ability to project violence.
So you're saying they're not really morals if they're owned by like a system or someone that's in power?
If they're created by humans, yeah.
Okay, so you're saying like, that it would include the state, that would include like religions, obviously, right? Like that would...
No, because religion, the moral system would come from something immaterial, which would be a god.
Okay.
So you believe that morals come from religion?
Yeah.
Do you, Daniel?
I don't know. I think they started off from religion, but like I think like our society, like the definitions change and stuff like that, and it comes off like Like our world is changing, and so like our morals have to change with it. Like our values have to change with it. I'm not saying it has to be completely radical and stuff like that, but I'm saying regardless of your religion or what citizenship you have, like everyone should have, I guess, a general set of morals. That's no one's here to debate that, but I think the problem is people justifying their morals, people justifying their decisions based off of like their own personal experience, anecdotal experience. I guess like that's the problem. I think my main problem is people thinking that they're morally good, regardless of whether you're moral or not. But people that think they're good people because they are attached, because they're part of some specific community or something like that. I think that's my problem. I think someone individually can create their own morals and still be a good person, you know?
That would be like a Kantian view of morals, that the only thing that matters is your what's the word he uses, as long as your objective, or as long as your intention yourself is perceived as good, then that defines a good morality or a good decision
Or a good person, so to speak.
But he defined it specifically towards decisions. So if your intention is good, which I failed to see how you can determine if your intention is good on a broader scale. I mean, like anyone can believe, even a sick person can believe their intentions are good,
Right?
but can be committing a moral wrong. So that's the problem I see with personal morality, is personal intention can still be immoral.
Right.
You know, yeah, you know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
Like an example, like I went to a concert, and I don't know if you guys notice, I have a little bit of a black eye, like a small one, and like a cut. Yeah. Like,
Oh yeah.
you can zoom up there,
yeah.
like one there, right there, and like a little bump there.
Whoa.
I went to Rebel, like the Ski Mask, the Swim God concert. Horrible decision, just a bunch of fucking like 17 and 18-year-olds just like, going crazy. I guess I'm getting too old for this shit, but
And you wonder
And you
why
got
I
hit in
listen.
the face.
yeah. But see, I was just heated for the night, like in general, and like it's like I wanted to take my anger out, but like I'm realized like these kids, like they don't know how to go to a concert. This is like their second concert ever. So
Was it like a mosh pit? Or did you
yeah,
get
they were
punched?
moshing and stuff like that, but like some kids just trying to like mess. Yeah, I don't know. Never mind.
He actually zoomed in on you. That's
Yeah, it's, I'm watching.
Yeah.
So
Well,
like the point.
and
Here's
you-
the point. Like there's a girl like sitting in the back. Like she's taped up. Like she can't walk anymore. Like she like fucked up her knee or something. Like me I already knew from the get go. Like I'm not trying to flirt with this girl right now. Like I just wanted to sit down. I was pissed off at my friend. I'm like I asked her straight up like, hey, can I sit here and stuff? So she's like, yeah, that's cool, no problem. So I got to know her and stuff like that. Now most people could probably like if someone's looking into this situation, they could see me and be like, oh, this guy's clearly trying to hit on her, or they're trying to like have some ulterior motive and stuff like that. But like no, like it's me, like I'm trying to like change like who I am as a person, like with my morals and stuff like that, and like trying to just in general become a better person. And I think it's important to recognize your own bias in certain situations, and trying to like figure out how to reach the situation differently. So I think me, like a long time ago, I would originally just talk to that girl just to try and flirt with her and stuff like that. But for me, I was coming from a different perspective, trying to treat her as an equal, treat her with respect, treat her differently, like not treat her as the way I normally treat a women or as people that I was interested in. So I think like in that particular situation, I acted morally good because I wasn't looking for my own interest. I wasn't looking for something from her. I wasn't like the only thing I was looking for was like a friend, and that's it. And
But
I made a friend.
were you
like that.
acting morally good
I believe-
objectively or subjectively?
Yeah, there you go. I think I was like subjectively, yeah, because like for some people they would probably like only do that because they were looking for something different or something like that, or like I don't know. I think it's a case by case basis, I guess.
But objectively, though, you weren't doing anything wrong. But so objectively,
I think that's the wrong question.
Yeah.
If it's
Yeah.
more like he didn't do anything wrong, so I don't think it'd be immoral. I mean, you could argue going to the Rebel.
nobody said it was immoral. But
yeah,
but
that
the question
was definitely morally wrong to go to Rebel, 100%.
is that part.
But
yeah.
talking to
But-
someone who's injured themselves and being kind.
Like I got
Right.
to know her, I got to know her friends after and stuff like that. Like,
But
it was very nice.
the question I'm asking is, it's not about being immoral, but the concept of it being moral. Wouldn't you say it's objective because you weren't doing anything wrong instead of subjective? Just because some people would perceive it differently, objectively,
Yeah.
you're not doing anything wrong.
But see, but like here's the problem with that type of argument. Like who like defines what objectiveness is? How do we come to a consensus with that? Like Jewish people are going to come to a different consensus on how to treat some issue. It's the same way Muslims will. It's the same way Catholics and Christians will.
And that's where we're going next. Who decides what is moral? How does a society decide what laws come into play based on morality?
Elect officials. The people elect officials, and they propose laws, and then they vote. Like, we elect our officials to decide what is laws. They're supposed to represent our morals and values.
I think it goes way deeper than that. I think it goes just because like morals were only created by people who were educated, like before the printing press and the Age of Enlightenment and stuff like that. All these morals were created by people who were educated, that were accessed and were part of a religious institution. That's what happened. So like they were the people who created the morals first, and then they taught the morals to everyone else who was uneducated in the Middle Ages and stuff like that.
So morals come from religion?
Yeah, and that's why they were considered objective, because they come from these institutions. Now our morals can be, every individual person can have their own set of morals.
That's a very Marxist or postmodernist view of morality. I think that's something that's only emerged out of the mid-20th century.
I don't consider myself a Marxist or a postmodernist, but I understand what you're coming from.
But that line of thought came out of specifically like the Frankfurt School and postmodernism.
Okay.
I
think what I'm trying to do is a bit more like individualist and libertarian on my perspective of trying to like everyone create their own morals and stuff. Like I guess even like the non-aggression principle, like as long as treat everyone with respect and as long as they're not violating your rights and your infringement of your liberty, I think that's the most important thing. But I'm not like that's like a separate issue. Like, I don't know.
I think the propensity that peoples and even religions have to construct their own states where they have a religion, you can say it's separated from the state, whatever. It's a majority. Historically, it's because people realize that for morality to have authority and for it to have some credence, it needs to be objective. There can't be any disagreement on a macro scale, right? I mean, people can disagree on small things, sure. But people segregate themselves because they realize they want to be with people that think like them. And to have something so fickle as people vote, and that's how we determine morality, I think is...
So we should go back to like tribalism in a sense?
No.
Like, is that...
No, just like a healthy, nationalism.
Right. That's very difficult to do, though, to create like a healthy nationalism. The problem with that is like people are going to construe nationalism with race and religion and all of this stuff that have shared interest in order to reach their goals.
Well, that's what a nation is, right? It's shared interests, and most nations in the history of the world have been extensions of either tribal feelings or to a lesser degree religious. But I mean, that's just reality. It's just human nature. Yeah,
But I think it goes into even a deeper conversation of like, are humans innately evil or innately good? I think on the basis of like more morality and stuff like that.
That'd be like a religious argument, and you can say that man has the capability for both.
Yes,
and it's the decision between those two things which determines a good person.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. So, but Mari, do you have something to say?
No.
Well, this. So morals, you think, Sam, are completely objective. Do you believe that new morals can come into play nowadays that are still objective? Because, for example, I don't know if I want to mention this, but for example, some people think that the belief that there are more than two genders is an objective moral. Like, morally, you like, it's wrong to not identify somebody by their pronouns, just as an example. Now, subjectively, you would say that that's not wrong, but to them, it's objective. Objectively, to a lot of people, gay marriage should be legal, and it is legal, and there's no problem with it. To some people, it is wrong. But which one is objective? Which one's subjective?
Well, I think the difference is to what degree you would be willing, if you thought morality was objective, to enforce those people around you, specifically in the law of the country you're in. So I'm not sure what the answer to that is.
I was confused to that too. Like, I know you're trying to relate it to
it's just about how do you decide really what, like, if your idea is that you have the right objective morals, how do you as a person determine that? Because wouldn't that be subjective, that you think you have the objective morals?
No.
Why is that? You just think that you have the right morals.
Where do you get your morals from?
Well, I'm sure most people I would like to become more Christian in the future.
So the Bible.
Yeah, I just imagine the Bible.
Is what you look
and
to for
yeah, and a
morals.
lot of people in different countries,
How old
use
is
their
that
own-
book again? What is it?
Pretty old.
Pretty old, right?
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
old. Really old.
Yeah.
And that's a good
Very
thing.
old.
To stand the test of time. But I'm not religious right now, and I'd like to be in the future. But I imagine that most people would derive their.
So you're
morals
not
from
religious, but you get your morals from religion
I understand that
or from the Bible.
I understand that my morals have their roots in a religious context. Yeah.
I would agree. I would say that my morals started off as religious because of my environment, like growing up at elementary and secondary Catholic schools. But
Bless you.
excuse me. I think that changes over time. I think depending on your personal experiences, and like I know like anecdotal evidence is not the best, but I think that changes people. Like if you see like injustice or something like that, that changes people. If you see something, if you go through a traumatic experience and something like that, your morals are going to change. If you become aware of a very contentious issue, your morals are going to change and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like I think even there's super religious people that maybe have
They're
a
the
family
worst people
member.
ever. They're the biggest pieces of shit.
I
I'm
think
sorry.
that's-
I was
I think
just
that's a
gonna
giant
say-
trope.
That's my
Who have-
personal
One
opinion.
at a
I'm
I
sorry.
time.
wasn't talking about.
My bad.
Hey, one
I
at a
wasn't
time.
gonna
Amara.
Go
comment
ahead,
on
Amara.
religious people. I was just gonna say that there could be a super religious, a very fundamental person who thinks that, for example, gay marriage is horrible, and then they have a brother or friend or a cousin that comes out, and they change that, and they think that they support gay marriage, and they would say that that morally still coincides with the Bible
But that's wrong, though.
in terms of like I don't know,
If you were to
Jesus
follow-
and loving each
if you
other.
were to follow the Bible word for word, that is not the interpretation. That's
What did
I
Jesus
don't-
say?
Well, I'm just.
I was having this conversation with Elliot.
I was
He
just
said-
saying they would say.
Elliot,
I'm
please
not.
tell me what Jesus said.
I know exactly what you're
I don't know what
referencing.
Jesus
I'm
said.
not.
What did he say? What did he
religious.
say, Sam?
He said, "Do not those who without sin
Throw the first
cast
stone.
the first
Cast the
stone."
first
Yeah,
stone, yeah.
that's
And-
fine. No, that's not what I was referring
But
to, but go ahead.
at the end
Go
of
on.
that, he says, "But go and sin no more." It's not a forgiveness without
But he says if
Change
you're
in
not
behavior.
sinning,
But
Yeah.
isn't that an
Like-
an unrealistic expectation for us to not sin? This is like
No, yeah. The whole point of
aren't humans innately sinful? Isn't that the
Yes.
point of like baptism and
I,
stuff?
I get like
Yes.
with
the whole
the idea about like repentance and like forgiveness and
Yeah.
stuff like that. That's like you can't just follow one little part of the Bible of the practice and that's it. You have to
Cherry picking.
you have to be consistent with your
Yeah.
thing. And I do appreciate Sam being consistent with his logic because most people aren't with that kind of stuff. They're gonna flip flop and stuff
I
like
agree.
that. So I respect that like in his opinions and stuff. But like the problem is I see lots of people who identify as very religious and stuff like that, but in their day-to-day lives and stuff like that, they don't practice what they preach.
Is it possible to fundamentally, like I guess, do what the Bible says in 2019? Like,
Yeah.
can you 100% morally follow
it's not
biblical rules?
you can attempt to follow it, and as long listen, you can attempt to follow it, and as long as you seek to my understanding, I'm not a Christian.
Right.
There's always a backdoor.
If you can follow it to the best of your ability and are still regretful and what's the word?
Remorseful?
Remorse.
So then, couldn't you argue that
No.
somebody could do things that you consider immoral
no.
and then just
Well,
be
that-
repentant and then they're okay?
Well, that's the point.
Isn't that
when
the
you have
subjectivity of
But if
morals?
you abuse the system like that, then it doesn't work.
What if
like
you
that.
apologize for abusing the system? What
No,
if you're repentant for that?
see the problem with this stuff, and that's my gripe with religion, that it requires faith. It requires blind faith for this stuff to. Everything has to work like
Yeah,
that.
I agree, but
you
I-
have to trust in a higher power for all of this stuff to make
because
sense.
this only makes sense in an immaterial context. If it was a material context, yeah, you can lie to a police officer and then do it again, and then serve your time and then do it again. But with an immaterial, all-knowing being like a god, you can't.
Because
flip-flop.
God knows like what's in your head and your heart and stuff,
Yeah,
according to
exactly.
religious people.
Yeah.
So how is that not subjective? How could
How is that not-
objectively everybody have the same things in their head and their heart? Like if Jeffrey Dahmer was,
Yeah.
he was
Sorry?
sick, a psychopath.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Dahmer, a serial killer.
Serial killer.
And
Cannibal.
Sorry about
yeah, pretty bad guy. And he, I don't know, he was repentant for that. Truly,
No.
is he okay then? That's moral. Like he was acting morally in repenting. So somebody who does something, I guess a gay couple who gets married, they're not as moral as Jeffrey Dahmer because he repented before he died.
I'm not sure about the details of repentance, but like that. But I don't think you can commit an atrocity like that and just repent quickly. And I think you'd have to show, you'd have to be in good faith. You couldn't just.
But we
repent.
don't know whether or not it was in good faith. You don't know. You're not.
Well, that's what God.
is
I mean, God makes that decision, I guess.
Well, I
guess.
want to go
Objective.
back to something that was talked about lying to a police officer. Is lying immoral? Does it in any?
Depends.
Is it ever okay to lie, and in what circumstances?
I'm going back with my original statement how it's a case by case basis. That's why our legal system is built this way. As much as I hate our legal system, I'm currently like I don't know if I gave you an update on this, but like I kind of started off as like a law clerk, like working for like a
No, you didn't tell me.
for like a small firm, I guess, pretty much like.
Thought we were friends.
Yeah,
That's fine.
But like, sorry, where was I going?
You
with
were a
this?
law clerk. You work at as
No.
a law
No,
clerk.
before that.
Lying to the
Lying.
police.
Lying,
Yeah, like-
lying.
And case by case basis.
Yeah, like
Cases.
that's how the legal system works. Like it's a case by case basis. Like what was it? I think like Jihadi Jack or whatever, the Englishman who like went to the Middle East to fight for ISIS and stuff like that. They want to try to re-educate him and stuff like that. Most of the general population are gonna look at his morals and stuff like that, or look at our values, and they're gonna be like, why would I want this guy back into society? You know?
Well, in terms of lying, even I think something like, I met a Holocaust survivor who was he didn't look Jewish. He had like blonde hair and green eyes and stuff, and he lied so that he didn't die. I would not say that's immoral. Or
Right.
things like that, or I don't know, just lying. You can lie about things like your sexuality or something. So there could be life and death situations in which I think you should lie so you don't die.
Sam.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, that's
So lying as a whole is not immoral.
No, I think it's usually immoral.
But it depends on the situation.
Yeah, if you're lying
It's
to
subjective.
no, if you're lying to if you're lying to protect your own life from an evildoer or someone who's out to, I don't know. This is
But
so,
what if it's-
this is so
but what-
situation specific. I can't just.
I feel like it's
I can't-
it's like a utilitarian thing. Like if you seek like true, like if the like your means justify like a good positive goal.
No, I don't like that.
No? Okay,
hold
fine.
on,
whatever.
hold on. If
Then
you're
explain
lying,
yourself.
hold on. If you're lying to protect your own life, so you're saying lying as a whole is immoral, right?
Yeah, most
Right.
cases.
Okay. So you would say that Holocaust survivor, for example,
No, of course not.
wait. It was God's plan for them to die.
What?
I don't think
Whoa,
it was.
whoa, whoa.
I don't.
What is
I don't
happening?
agree with
because
Sam, but
I don't
I'm
think I
cool with
get the
him. Like it doesn't make sense.
Because if you're saying, that's my question to you. Because
Yeah.
if
Did
lying
God
is
plan for him to lie? Or is that what you're asking?
no, because if lying is immoral, let me just finish my sentence
Okay,
before anyone
I'm
jumps
so
in.
sorry.
It's a little
If
loaded.
Okay, let him go. Let him speak.
if lying is immoral,
Yeah.
that person shouldn't have lied because their destiny was to die. Is that part of God's plan? Because you believe that religion is the all
The be all
knowing,
of
the be all
everything.
end all.
No, I think you should lie
In
But
that
it's immoral.
situation.
in that situation.
So lying is morality is subjective.
No, it's not.
Why not?
Because you're gonna die if you don't do that.
Yeah, but you just said that overall lying is immoral.
Yeah.
But in certain situations it's not. So it depends on the situation. It's not objectively
Yeah,
immoral
but there's a rule. The rule is don't lie.
unless you're going to die.
Yeah, if you want to,
In these
if you
situations
want to
it's okay
specify,
to
don't
lie.
lie to be self-serving.
That would be your rule.
Yeah, that'd be
Don't
the
lie
rule.
to be self-serving. He didn't want to die.
That's self-serving.
I think that goes a little bit beyond self-serving.
No.
I think we can make that understanding.
So I think self-preservation is a good excuse
Yeah.
for doing
For
those
lying.
actions. Like
Okay. Let's talk about something more specific. Is premarital sex moral?
No,
No.
no.
What's immoral about premarital sex?
Do you want me to give you the religious argument or the, just the?
I want to know
religious-
how you
the
justify
bare fact?
a religious argument advocating for premarital?
No,
or not
no.
advocating, but saying like it's okay.
No, he's saying it's wrong.
No, it's wrong.
But
oh,
I
you're
wanna
saying it's
know-
wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not talking about promiscuity. I'm talking about having sex with somebody before you are legally married or
Okay.
religiously married, before you're married.
So
I'm not talking about
you're not talking
promiscuity.
about promiscuity.
No.
One person.
Just two
monogamy.
people in a long-term committed relationship
Yeah.
that aren't married.
Okay.
What's immoral about them having sex?
I don't. It could. The thing is, it's difficult because not a lot of relationships are like that.
My parents were together for 25 years
Okay,
before
that's
they
an
got married.
anecdote. I think.
That's
I think
amazing.
as
You
It's a
said
fact.
not-
It's a fact.
Okay.
Thank
I
you,
understand,
Elliot.
but anecdotes can be facts and they're still anecdotes. I think you have to understand these rules as broad and applied to masses of people at once. And if you were to say, well, this this rule only applies if you're in long-term relationships, but we can't determine what that is, and only promiscuity is bad. That loses its sense of authority, and it's not as effective as it could be.
But what's immoral about having sex with somebody before you're married with them?
Before
Before
answer
you're
that,
married to them, sorry.
I also
Because
just
you
wa-
didn't do a covenant. That's why.
Before you answer that, I just want to go back to what you said. If it's a broad range, you like about 10 minutes ago, you talked about specific parts of the Bible that must be followed. But if this is a broad range, how do you determine what's broad and what's specific?
I don't follow.
Okay, answer Amara's question.
Yeah, like what's immoral about two people in a relationship having sex if they're not married? What's immoral about that?
Because they could have a child outside of wedlock.
And
I
what's
guess.
immoral about that?
A union between a man and a woman is the best place to raise a child. I'd agree.
But you can be unified without being married.
Like in
I'm asking about
in
marriage.
a legal system, isn't it like
But-
10 years or some? If some people live together,
3 years.
But
It's
that's
called to be common law.
Okay, there
married,
we go.
yeah.
But then there's like the legal definition of marriage and the religious
No, but I'm
definition
asking
of marriage.
about that. Like, if you
Yeah.
don't, let's talk about the religious definition of marriage.
Okay.
If you go get married in a church, before that, if you have a child, what's immoral about that? They still have a mother and a father that are together in the same household, operating as a family.
Sure, but do they have the? This is the. Not the religious argument, but do they have that same bond that binds them together? Then,
I don't-
if they were not to, or
I
if
mean,
they
I'm
were to
going
be
to
married.
be anecdotal because my
Sure.
parents were together for a long time. I don't think anything really changed for them. They were together for 25 years before they got married.
Sure, but do
so
you understand how
nothing
your
really
anecdote
changed.
might change your opinion on non-married people having children?
Somewhat. I think that you didn't really answer my question. Like, what about not being married makes it bad to have a child between two people who are in a committed relationship? Like, if you live in a house with your mom and your dad and they're just not married, like they just don't wear rings, but other than that, they're completely together. What's
Legally, they're
immoral
not married.
about that? Legally, they're not married, no. Or religiously, like they're not married.
Okay, well, there's no legal binding. If you want to talk about legal, there's no legal binding between those two parties. It'd be less difficult to initiate a separation between.
Yeah, but we're not
those
talking
two types of
about-
people. We just said legal.
We're not talking about separation. I'm talking about what's immoral about that family as it exists, not
'Cause
if
it's-
they separate.
because it's less beneficial to the child.
How is it less beneficial to the child for the parents not to be married legally or religiously?
Because I guess it's a greater likelihood that the child could be raised by a single parent, and children that are raised by single parents are at higher rates.
So
of,
it has nothing to do with the actual existence of that relationship. It
Yes.
just has to do with what might happen. Because
Well-
parents get divorced all the time.
Yes, you don't
People have divorced parents.
running a red light is illegal because you might. Just because you ran a red light and nothing happened doesn't mean that it's bad. And we understand that running a red light is dangerous. You
Yeah, but
understand?
running a red light, you might kill somebody.
Yeah,
If your parents don't get married
But that's
and they
an
stay
analogy.
together, what's the issue?
but that's the analogy, right? That's
Okay,
the,
but answer the question. What's
Sure.
the issue if they don't separate and they stay together and they're not married?
is that
how
a
is
risk?
that
Is that a
immoral?
risk you'd like to apply to hundreds of thousands of people?
What? It already is applied to hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah,
it's
and that's
not
a bad
illegal
thing.
to have a
I
child
would-
outside
if
of
I
You're
could-
not answering the question.
Yes.
What's wrong with that situation?
Because there's a greater likelihood they could be
So there's
raised by a
nothing
single.
wrong with the situation.
Yes.
There's something wrong with what might
Can you not
happen.
see that they're connected? If you
see
have
divorce
children,
exists.
if you have children outside of a religious or legal context, you're more likely to be raised by a single parent down the line. And being raised by a single parent down the line has factual consequences towards that child. Consequences I'd like to avoid. Do you understand that? More likely to be incarcerated, less likely to have a
Yeah, I
successful job
understand
in
that
the
single
future.
parents don't necessarily raise successful children.
That's
We're not talking
That's the
about
basis
single
for it.
family households, though. No one
If
would
you-
argue that that's
most
moral.
people that have children outside of marriage
Don't 50% of marriages end in divorce nowadays?
Yeah.
100% of divorces start with marriage.
Oh, that's a fact. I don't know.
Well-
I think that's difficult to say. I don't. It's a case by case basis.
I would
Someone
agree.
could easily say an example. I think we just need to take off the framing of the question, because I feel like we're only taking the framing that your opinion, I guess, is that healthy relationships are only valid if they maintain this legal or religious standard and stuff like that.
yeah.
So let's talk about, though, Sam, if you believe that
Our world is changing, is what I'm saying. Our world doesn't think like we are in the 16th century anymore. Sorry.
if you believe that premarital sex, for example, is immoral, and you believe that you have the objective morals, the correct morals, do you believe that your objective morals should be law?
That what?
Your
Premarital
morals
sex
Should be illegal?
Yeah.
Premarital sex should be legal? No, I don't think at any point
No.
in history it's banning legal, unless you're talking about like
I'm
adultery
talking
laws.
about your personal beliefs.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
believe that your beliefs should be law?
Some of them, maybe.
Do you believe
I mean,
that
I think
premarital?
anyone believes their beliefs should be law. I mean, that's what.
Nah.
No.
Most people aren't that narcissistic.
Okay, well, your beliefs are all supported by the establishment.
Not all of
You don't
them,
disagree
no.
with anyone controversial.
That's not true.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're for abortion and all those other things I don't want to talk about. So
Yeah, I wonder
brought it
why.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah, you brought it,
exactly.
yeah.
Nobody else opened that door. I feel like you have
Okay.
the most to lose. But
See, like,
okay.
I'll give you an example.
it's hard. It's easy to say, well, I don't want to impose my will on anyone when your opinions align perfectly with the
but
current
maybe that
legal
should tell you
structure.
something.
What?
That your views don't align with any legal structure, like any of the legal
Very-
establishment
Yeah,
nowadays.
the legal establishment in the last 10 years isn't something I would give a lot of weight to, or would I call it moral? All right, the views
Justin Trudeau's knocking at your door asking what you think.
I think that my morals and what I believe in comes through thousands of years of history and tried and true practices, and that's
mean,
how I judge them.
We can
I think
argue that
that's-
those practices weren't necessarily beneficial for most people, and there's a reason that they changed.
Do you think just because something changes, I think that's a dangerous thing to walk. Just to say because it's the future and things have changed.
I didn't say that.
Well, that's
not
what you're
I
implying.
said,
That's what
like,
you're
at all.
implying.
No, I'm just saying that there's probably a reason that things like you were talking about how a healthy relationship nowadays can exist outside of marriage. Things are changing. That's not necessarily saying that marriage should be gone. I don't think marriage isn't like should
why do you
not
think,
happen.
I think the most important thing is exercising your agency and be independent, be an individual, be who you want. Like regardless if like I disagree with everything that Sam says and he has to like disagree with me. Like thankfully we're in a country where I'm allowed to do whatever the fuck I want, and so is he. You know, like look, obviously within reason and stuff like that. But like
But that reason is about subjectivity or objectivity.
yeah, but like I don't like, but like. My thing is like if it's not hurting you personally, if it's not personally negatively affecting your life, like why is
Or
that
anybody's life.
Yeah, or like is it, like that's the main issue. Is like the main thing right there. Like
I think it's a little bit it's naive to understand how culture and society can influence a bunch of individuals through policy or just speeches, tangentially. But like individual actions can affect the whole, and that's if they're bad decisions, that's bad for everyone else. I don't understand this. People aren't living in these
So are you saying
encased
that-
bubbles where their decisions don't impact anywhere else,
Let's
especially
see.
when you're talking about hundreds of thousands of people.
Let's use the premarital sex example then.
Sure.
So you're saying somebody in a long-term relationship should get married for the greater good of society.
To have children, if that's their goal of
They should. So yeah, let's say they want to have a kid. So they
Yeah.
should get, even if they don't want to, they should get married.
if they're in a relationship.
But how is that if they don't want to do it? Why is it moral to force them to do something that they don't want to
what
do?
if they just straight up don't want to get married?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Okay.
is it moral to try to, I guess, pressure them, encourage them, put
Yeah.
societal pressure on
Yeah,
them to get
definitely.
married?
Yeah.
To do something that they don't want to do. That's moral. To force
you-
somebody to do something they don't want to do.
Yeah,
I would liken that to gay conversion therapy. You're forcing somebody to do something they
no,
don't
that's
want to do.
ridiculous. I don't. But electric shock therapy, isn't that what they did?
You just like it, like having a kid and not being married to running red lights. So I think
Yeah.
like
Well, no. My analogy
Comparison.
was just because
I understand what it was. I'm
The
just saying
rule-
he can make the comparison to gay conversion therapy.
I don't think so. I think that's an incendiary comparison.
Mm.
I don't think it's constructive either. The analogy I used for running a red light is running the red light is a rule. Just
I
because
understand
every time you
what
run
the
it
analogy
doesn't
was.
mean.
You don't have to explain it to me again. I get
Okay.
it.
Well, I thought you were confused.
No, I wasn't. I'm good.
Okay.
Well, okay. Sorry, that was a lot to process. When you talk about morality and cultures, do you believe that morality is culturally relative? Do you believe? See, because you say that you have the. Again, I'm going to go back to this. You believe that you have.
I don't think it's me. I tend to prescribe more to a Christian belief, and I'd like to explore that further when I become more educated in it.
But your belief, your statements are that you believe you have the objective morals. Would you
me?
say yes?
You believe that your morals are the objective right morals because you follow Christian morals.
Yeah, I tend to think those are, and I prescribe.
So
to
the
them.
ones that you have.
Yeah, sure.
Because of whatever,
Yeah,
but the
okay.
ones that you have.
I don't like this insinuation that I just made them up and.
No, nobody said you made them up.
Okay.
But your just belief system
Sure.
is that you have the right ones. But the
Yeah.
question is morality culturally relative? So say that you weren't a Christian, would your morals be objective? Like, how would that?
Can I give an example? Like
Yeah, go ahead.
Like I think the biggest example is like how our culture, like regardless of like geographic location, like our culture has completely normalized circumcision under males. Like that is a perfect example of morality and stuff like that.
I think that's a
some
great
people
example.
some people have morally justify having their child to be circumcised because they don't want to, like, I'm sorry for these terms, but they don't want to clean the schmegma that's coming out of their penis. Like,
Or they think it
I'm
looks
using the
weird
correct-
and they don't want them to
they think
feel
it looks
weird.
weird, exactly. Or yeah, and like, but like if we look at these systems and stuff like that, like all of these institutions that have been part of our culture, these are just the select few, the elite, that have a certain way of thinking, and they want us to think in this very specific way.
Yeah, like in
They,
Europe
and they
where-
use these systems to make us think like that. Whether it be like Karl Marx wanted to everyone think that, oh, we're the proletariat, we want to kill, like, off the rich or
Eat
something
the
like
rich,
that. Yeah, eat the rich. Or if you're Turning Point, like Candace Owens, like super conservative, you know, like it depends.
Candace Owens is not a conservative. I resent that.
I'm just saying,
So
fine.
she calls herself a
Fine,
conservative.
She's lying.
She's a piece of shit too. There you go.
Yeah,
I'll
okay,
agree with
figure
that.
it.
We can agree on
Thank
that.
you. God bless you.
But like that's what I'm saying though. It's relative and stuff like that. Like circumcision is accepted not only under Jewish people, but is Muslim people, got Catholics and Christians and stuff like that. But like if you look at what's going on right now, everywhere there's a whole like Twitter storm about how female genital mutilation is happening in Africa. Like we need to be consistent with this stuff. I think even though we have a different opinions, I think there is a possibility to have like a general basic set of rules of morality, like basic ones that could be objective. Those are objective in the sense that, like, yes, like be respectful to others and try to live your life like with as least amount of sin as possible or something like that. But like there's just certain things that are wrong, and they have been created like the problem is that we've created right and wrong based off of institutions that were designed to control and oppress people. That's the problem. Like religion has done that. The state has done that in every sense. Like regardless of left or leaning or right leaning and stuff. Like I'm not trying to get into that dichotomy right now. Like that's not what's important here.
Well, let's talk about that. We mentioned that we have certain right and wrong. We have some objective things that are wrong that are governed by the state. Let's talk about going back to our capital punishment episode.
Sure.
Is it ever right to kill someone?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah, if they're going to kill you or your family or somebody. Even.
No, capital punishment, for example.
So is like the death penalty moral?
Yes.
Yeah, I think if the state decides that person deserves to die, I think it is moral. I think murder in some cases is moral, and
So it is
theft
okay to
moral.
kill people sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah, it depends on the situation.
Sam?
I'm not too educated on the specifics of how the Bible deals with capital punishment, but I believe there are justifications, or there are instances where people that had committed crimes or, I guess, offenses towards other people were executed.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, even regardless, if I were to take a religious perspective on it, I think that the state has the right to execute people.
Well, what about the opinion of pacifists who believe there shouldn't be no wars, there should be no murders? To them, that's objectively moral.
Well, they should read a history book.
That's
though.
like denying our human nature.
Yeah.
Like,
Even if you view to a religious
a world
perspective,
with no conflict.
Yeah.
Like,
even if you were look at a religious perspective or even a Christian perspective, which does to a certain degree believe in the peace among men, if you really want to call that. I mean, that's like it's a very complex interpretation.
Sorry, say that. What peace? What?
Peace among men, like
I'm not familiar with. Sorry, you can. Okay, sorry.
I think it kind of dissuades conflict, right? So if you where was I going with this? Shit.
Peace of men?
Among men.
Among men?
Uh,
We can circle back to it.
Yeah, I don't
because
remember.
we don't know where you were going with that.
sorry.
I got confused too, so that's fine.
Yeah.
I had it. It was
There you go.
You know what?
You
It's
know,
okay.
it's
It
gone.
happens. That happened to me. All,
The-
how many times did that happen to me on the air? All
Probably
the
like
time.
95% of the time.
100%. Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, now I go. Now I know.
Of
Okay.
course you got it now.
All right, I got it. Sorry. Even if you were
Facebook
to look,
poll last week.
Jeez.
even if you were to look at it from a religious perspective, the Bible, I think almost all religions acknowledge that man is flawed and has a propensity for violence, whether justified or not. So even a pacifist interpretation or a pacifist view of the world is contrary to even I think even the most basic religious view of it. I think it's just idealistic and completely uneducated.
Interesting. Amara?
What, pacifism?
just the idea about murder because you believe that, for
I
example,
think-
capital punishment. Well, you believe that morals are subjective, so that's fine.
I was just gonna,
Yeah.
like I think it'd
That's
be
fine.
nice if
That's
there
the
were
correct. That's the correct opinion.
salty.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry.
You've been
Oh, I'm sorry.
interrogating me for the last
Salty.
hour.
No.
Salty.
I am the intermediary. But when you say that, and you started the show with the correct
exactly.
people voted objective.
That was tongue in cheek. Come on.
yeah.
So was
Wasn't
this.
funny.
Believe me.
Oh.
Remember,
I
I'm
was-
here for everybody.
I was just gonna say.
See, hold on. You see, if you watched the show last week, you saw how much me and Amara disagreed, right?
And Jessica.
Yeah, and
But
Jessica.
now you guys are
see?
together right now.
But
Yeah, now we're
but
best friends.
Yeah.
you see, everybody has a change of opinion. As a host, I have certain opinions, but generally for shows that I don't, I'm
You stay out of it.
I manage. I manage. So
I think it would be nice if there were no wars or violence or conflict ever, and we could all be, happy.
Yeah,
hippies
it'd be
and
nice
hold
too if
hands.
everyone has a Tesla too. That'd
But
be
yeah,
pretty
exactly.
Sweet.
It's not realistic. That's all I have to say, really. I think murder is justifiable in some cases. I even think I don't know if you're gonna ask a question, but the Heinz situation, I think
Yes,
theft
yes.
is moral in some
Sorry, which
situations.
is-
So I'm gonna
yeah.
Coco.
Good. Thank you for bringing
Was
that
someone
up.
stealing ketchup?
Threw it to
Hold
you.
on. Thank you for bringing that up. No one's going to steal my ketchup. I love ketchup. But let's talk about the Heinz dilemma. This is a question about disgusting.
Yeah.
You don't like
Ket-
ketchup?
No, I just your jokes. That's all. So.
Oh,
it's okay.
jeez.
My jokes?
My jokes?
No, Elliot.
All
sorry.
jokes.
You're cool.
I just like ketchup. What the hell's the problem with
Ketchup
that?
and
Jesus.
Celine Dion.
Not at the same time.
Exactly. See this is like mental illogicalness that's coming out of him. There you go. I know that wasn't a word. I'm sorry.
You are aware this is the Raben Report,
No,
right?
no bully, no bully.
So the Heinz dilemma. Oh, now I get why the reference was to ketchup. Okay, imagine that.
Oh my god.
Sorry, I haven't. Okay.
He's the embodiment of dad jokes. That's what he does.
Imagine the following dilemma: a woman is dying, and there's only one drug that can save her life. The druggist paid $200 for the materials and charges $2,000 for the drug. The woman's husband, Heinz, asked everyone he knows for money, but he could only collect $1,000. He offered this to the druggist, but the druggist refused.
What kind of wording?
I'm not done.
Druggist?
Desperate. That's what it was written.
Right.
Desperate, Heinz broke into the lab and stole the drug for his wife. Should he have done this? Was this moral?
Yeah, I think that was moral. I don't necessarily think it was immoral. His wife is going to die, so.
What's like? See, here's the thing though. Like, if we can make that, if you use, like, I'm not going to use that example, but if we use a real life example, like, I don't know, like, drop some knowledge about, like, you know how, like, the
Well, let's-
Sackler
let-
family, the
let's-
Sackler family donates hundreds of millions of dollars to, like, all these art exhibits all across the world. All of that money, if you trace back to it and you look at their company emails and you do your research, you can see how these pharmaceutical companies encouraged, like, encourage this legalized, like, cartel style of selling of narcotics.
And the prescription of opioids.
Yeah,
and
it's this
stuff like that.
prescription of
Whole
opioids.
episode on
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, how is that any different from Martin Shkreli and stuff like that? Or the price of, what about the price of insulin in the United States? How fucked up is that? Like, that's like I was like, I do agree with capitalism. I'm not saying for us to go to socialism or communism or something like that. But when capitalism goes too far, that is a problem when it becomes immoral and stuff like that.
But let's bring
that's
it back.
a big problem.
Well,
Let's bring
that's
it back. Let's bring it back to the example. I want to talk about the example that I brought up, the Heinz dilemma. Sam, do you
Yeah.
believe that it was should he have done this?
Yeah, and I would do it.
You would, but
Yeah.
wouldn't it be immoral?
What does the Bible say about stealing?
Stealing in that context, I'm not really too sure. I'll be honest.
But wouldn't the Bible say something specific in regards to stealing?
I feel like probably.
Stealing, but to save like your
But does
wife
the Bible
or your
say
child.
that?
I'm not sure. I haven't read it too much.
Just
Okay.
need to know what
Or-
the Bible says.
Yes. Well, that's
Oh,
a very
I didn't say
specific
what
set of terms.
I didn't
and
say in the
don't know it.
beginning what Jesus said, but my argument was like he said just to love everyone. That was it. He didn't say to love everyone. Oh, but not the black people. Oh, but not
Wait.
the women. But not the gays. But not this. Like there's
Yeah,
like
he hung out with like prostitutes and stuff.
yeah.
Yes, but he told them go and sin no more. Why do people forget that last?
Why
part?
does it like
I don't-
that's like an unrealistic expectation for a deity to bring upon humans. Like, come on. Like
No.
yes, it is.
Well, in that context, you would get
But doesn't
everlasting life.
religion
forever.
say that we're innately sinful? Like, don't we
Yes.
get baptized at birth because we're born sinful?
Yeah.
So the deity doesn't even believe that it's
Yes.
possible for us to live without
Yeah, but
sin.
if
So-
if Jesus said, "Oh, hey, some prostitutes, let me just go hang out with them." Oh, go ahead, ladies, you're great, and then he just walked away. Do you really think that's That's the
don't know.
context.
No,
No, okay.
I don't think that's the argument, though. I think it's just saying that Jesus,
Well,
first and foremost,
yeah.
was advocating for like love and togetherness
Well,
versus
I think Jesus,
separation.
but I think Jesus looked at his environment and saw
Actually,
saw a place that was filled with hate and it's a reflection of what's happening now in 2019 going into 2020. We've become more tribal. We've become like
More
identity
hateful.
politics is the worst thing ever and stuff like that. And like I'm gonna say this again, I don't forget if I've said this on the show or not, but regardless if Amar is black or a woman or I am different in any particular way or Sam has very different views, like my original statement is like we should all be united off of our class and to fight against the elite and
The
stuff like
1%.
that. Exactly. We need to be like, I'm not saying like we got to steal
bourgeoisie.
like all of like $900 billion that Jeff Bezos has or that he's going to accumulate over the next 10 years. But I'm saying if we can enact some change through policy that will greatly improve the quality of life generally on average for citizens, like why aren't we doing that? Why are we maintaining the status quo?
I generally agree with that, but what I do disagree with is the social, the postmodernism that sometimes
I think it's a problem. I think postmodernism is a problem as well.
The general postmodern that accompanies left wing economic policies, and I think that's a relatively new phenomenon that really came out of the 60s. This joining of, well, you can go further back, but at least in the States, the joining of left wing economic policies and government policies with social and sexual liberation.
Okay.
Which I think is totally counterproductive because I would like to believe that there's a portion of the population that believes like me, and like them, I'm completely uninterested in those political movements now because they have social policies that I completely disagree with.
Mm-hmm.
But I would agree with most of their economic policies to a certain extent.
Well, I want to bring it back to the Heinz dilemma because we have a comment from Nelson. Thank you for commenting, Nelson.
That's a good one.
Hope you're doing well. He says, "Isn't it immoral for the drug company to not help this family in need?" Would you say it's immoral, Sam?
Well, I think if you want to talk about insulin specifically and how the price of the drug had gone up over, I'm not 100% on the specifics, maybe the quality increase or whatever, but yes.
The drug hasn't changed. In
Okay,
any
the
shape or
drug
form.
hasn't changed in
Just to
decades.
let you know, but go ahead.
Okay. And the prices has gone up tenfold.
Yeah.
I think it's a
pretty much.
conservative number.
Anyway, keep going. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's immoral because it's exploitative, and they know it's an inelastic product. You know, the demand.
Would you
won't-
be consistent with me saying that, like, as much as like I disagree with socialism and communism, this is an example of when capitalism
Yeah,
goes
of
too
course,
far?
dude. I'm not a capitalist shill.
I know. I'm just no. I just want to make sure, like people, like the audience knows that, like, even though we're different in certain ways, like we can come to a consensus.
No,
on
and
certain
I'm
things,
for
you know?
single payer healthcare and all that. All
Yeah,
this stuff.
cool, exactly. See, like there's like this is the thing. Like we need, like, people need to stop thinking at these very low, like identity politics kind of thing. Like
It's not even. It's just caricatures of.
But I think it's also an example of us having good morals because even though we're different people, we're completely different and we still share certain group of values, even though we're very, very different. We have, like I said before, our morality is on a basic primal level, objective to a certain degree, but then it starts changing and becoming subjective when you start adding different people's changes and people's life when you, like, I hate using the word, but when you apply intersectionality into it, that's when it changes into it. I know I hate that word. I hate it just as much as
just triggers,
postmodernism.
like something in the
Is
back
it-
of my brain.
Yeah,
is like,
I'm like, oh, like when I do it, but it's a fact, you know. I got to call it out how it is, and like, that's how it is.
so you acknowledge that there's an importance to have some kind of baseline where there's fundamental things that there's no room for debate, but then those maybe more situational specific things that have nuance maybe can be debated within a very narrow understanding.
See, like I think the problem with that is like I guess like learning from my classes, like we see most people, they try to apply the whole like cultural relativism to the thing. So I feel like I know that's not the same as
I
what you're
understand,
saying.
yeah.
I know that's not the same with what you're saying. So I think probably that is what we're gonna have to do. Like we're gonna have to find a way to come to a consensus on the big things, and then people, like, I think the perfect example is like on the debate stage for the Canadian federal debate, like when they started talking about like LGBTQ plus issues and reproductive rights, like Sheer said, like it's perfectly okay for someone to have a different idea from you, you know. But the main thing is like like our society is changing, and it's changing for the better, is what I'm going to say. Regardless if you disagree with people who want to transition, or they want to or they just think differently, or they have a postmodern view to like how society is supposed to behave. I feel like the part of it, it's an experiment. Like we have to just keep moving forward. We got to stop. We have to get rid of this tunnel vision and look at the bigger picture.
To a certain degree, I agree with that. Yeah.
Well, just to wrap up the show, let's talk about where our society is headed in terms of morals. Based on the current set of values, are we headed in a positive direction, a negative direction? Sam, you and I were talking about this a couple weeks ago.
At Chipotle.
Yeah, at Chipotle, which is good. Check out Chipotle. Pay us for that. You said that you believe society is going into a very bad place.
Mm-hmm.
And why would you say that?
It's I can do it in a very broad sentence. It's the obsession with the material and the immediate, and no understanding of long-term consequences, immorality, hedonism.
Oof, I was gonna say that, man. I love that word. Hedonism is a perfect example of what's going on in our society.
Men specifically without virtue, I think, is the worst thing.
But hasn't hedonism been around forever?
Yeah, of course. And if you look at, hedonism comes from the Greeks, one of the Greek philosophers, I guess.
Hedon.
Is it? Is it?
I don't know. I
Hedon?
forget. I just.
No, but a lot of the counter to that would have been Stoicism, which I do enjoy, and I do read a lot about it.
And for our viewers who don't know what that is,
Stoicism is the belief that it's almost like a proto-Christianity. I think you can link...
Is it like acting with virtue, kind of?
Yes, but it's more of an understanding that to be virtuous and to understand your own consciousness and to be in the moment constantly and in control of your own emotions in a very disciplined way is the highest state of being one can achieve. It came around before Christianity. But Stoicism was the opposite of, or it critiqued heavily hedonism, which was a previous school of thought among the Greeks. Stoicism was Greek and then further Roman authors, but like Marcus Aurelius, which was read his book,
right?
His journal.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very ancient idea that one should live, only for pleasure. But I think there's a lot of literature throughout history that tackled the subject, and it's a bad thing. You shouldn't live just for pleasure.
But see, I think that's why it proves my point on me being subjective with my morals, because if we're going to be honest about it and we look at 18-year-old Daniel or 17-year-old, 16-year-old Daniel, I was a fucking asshole. I was a piece of shit in like high school, it's tough. Like I'm happy, like I'm like at this point now where like I can see like that I obviously need to make some changes and stuff like that, but like I think that also changes that my morals have been changing, and it's because I'm trying to surround myself with good people, and you try to cut yourself out, cut all the fakes, and you cut all those negative people. It's a process. I don't like it's hard. There's no like full answer for this. It's.
I think going off of where society's going, I think we're at a like sort of crossroads at a precipice right now. I think I wouldn't necessarily say I think immorality is more supported by some people. I think that there's a very big, obviously politically we're divided more than we have been in a long time. Mm-hmm. And I think that, I don't know, I think we can go the right way. I think it just depends. I think that there's a lot of,
definitely not the left way, though.
A lot more acceptance of a lot of things. And I think that that's for the most part good, but we don't need to accept everything, right? Like there has to be
that's
a
an
line
interesting
still.
line.
So I think that...
I wonder how you determine that.
You're so petty, man. It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
You spend like an whole hour.
It's all good.
saying,
It's all good.
Yeah,
it's all good.
no.
Yeah. It's all good.
I never said that nothing was wrong and everything. Like there's no such thing as
How do you
immorality.
determine that? I wonder. How do you determine that? Is it you? Is it the state? Is it whoever has the biggest stick in the schoolyard?
Okay, so who's had
There's
the
no way I
biggest
can
stick in
think
the schoolyard for
well
so
enough
many
for
years?
that, right?
Sorry?
Who's had the biggest stick in the schoolyard for so many years?
I guess God, if you were religious, a God.
But that's
material-
not God having the stick though. It's
No,
people
it's
that follow
Well,
God.
this all
These are
depends-
followers of God that have the stick,
This
not
all
God
depends
itself.
on what you think about religion, right? Because do you think that the Bible was written by men
Word of
informed
God,
by
right?
God, or
Yeah.
was it written by men from their own heads who set this all, like, are you religious or not is really where that goes, right? Because do you really believe that God passed down these morals? I think that
I think
has a
that's
lot
what
to do with
That's
it.
what a Christian would believe. And
I'm not a Christian.
I don't even like the analogy of the stick. I shouldn't have used that
I
because
was just using it with.
I know, no, I used it too.
He's just
good.
using your
Yeah.
bad analogy.
It's
Sure.
all good.
No, because the fundamental difference is the immaterial authority versus the material authority,
Right.
and that's the biggest difference.
I think it all comes down to just faith, self-control, and just being one with your emotions. I think that's the thing. Like that, a proper collectivism of that without like forcing your morals based off of religion. Like you can make sure your morals can come from a religious standpoint, but I think as long as you're like a good person and you try to defend what's right and what's honorable and like stuff like that, that's the most important thing.
Those
Like
are
for me personally, like if I saw someone like doing some like dumbass shit to some gay people or something like that, maybe if I was like that heated, I'd commit assault or something like that. Like, I'm sorry, that's just how like I see so many people do that fucked up shit to those type of people, and it pisses me the fuck off. Like, I'm sorry for this, but like, or an example, like I have a friend where all they do is they just rip on him for like making some dumbass jokes and stuff like that because of his sexuality, and it's like, or another friend like they were going like they were like on the way to like some club or something like that, and he like, the guy says like, oh, like what happens when all the gay guys start fucking hitting on me, and I'm like, I wish they weren't so like ignorant and so bigoted for so certain things, but you know it's a work process. You know, some people are gonna be like that and some people aren't, so it's okay.
Yeah. Well, that's
don't let it ruin your day is what I'm trying to say. Sorry.
Society is, you know, I mean, we've talked about it many times where society is going, and Sam, you feel that it's negative. Amara, you feel that it's, you know, we're on the precipice. You know, I too am worried about where society is going, but we can definitely talk about that more at length in the future. But that is the end of today's show. Thank you to everyone that tuned in and that messaged us live. A brand new episode of the Raben Report will be coming to you next week. Same day. Next week is actually our season finale, by the way. Wow. Season 7 finale. So that, there you are. So that, you know, hopefully you tune in because it's going to be a spicy episode. We're not going to tell you the topic yet. You have to tune in. But we hope you tune in. Thank you, everyone. Daniel, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We really appreciate having you here.
I hope I did Jessica
justice.
Yeah, I did Jessica justice.
I think you did.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, it was a great show, and I think that shows. So, again, thank you to everyone that tuned in and that messaged us live. A brand new episode of the Raben Report season finale will be coming to you next week, same day, same time, same people. Have a great day, everyone.